really have to understand the terms of the modification that you're receiving because they can vary widely.
Some of them are a great deal and some of them really are not.
You know, typically what we see is that the rates are typically fixed for the first 5 years at an incredibly low rate, which is great.
It looks very appealing. Starts usually at 2%, nice low payment.
The thing to remember is that they will eventually adjust. Now there is a cap to that adjustment, and then right now we're seeing it anywhere between 5 and 6%, so it's not horrible.
So make no mistake, most of these offers when they actually come out, you're going to see in some cases anywhere from a few $100s a month relief to several $100s a month relief. You got to read the fine print though.
Yep, and that's the key. The bank's goal on this is to get manageable payments for you based on your current income. If you can get manageable payments, then their thought is that you'll be able to stay in your home for a much longer time. It will stop the decline in values in the neighborhood, and it will help you be stable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing to understand is sometimes what they do in order to get that, and this is where that fine print's important, is they will give you a reduced principal that you'll be paying on. So let's say you have a $300,000 mortgage. What they'll do is they'll say, you know what, in order to get to this payment, to make it affordable for you based on your current income levels, we can only collect on a $200,000 mortgage.
Sounds good to me. Woohoo!
Now what they don't tell you is what happens to that other $100,000. And
Well,
that's the secret.
they'll tell you in one little sentence and they will call it deferred principal. What is the other new lovely word they're calling it for?
You know, I just call it a balloon note, but
Yeah.
that's about as easy as it gets.
Because at the end of the day, they take that additional $100,000, and this isn't every loan modification package, but it's one that we're seeing a lot. We're seeing this letter a lot, this type of offer made to people for that 8% who actually, after the whole soul-sucking siege of the facts that's pointed out the window and you're hoping for an updraft and the 1,000 phone calls you make and sit on hold, after that whole thing, 8% of you are likely to be offered this type of deal or one similar to it. That $100,000 deferred principal either gets tacked onto the end of your note, which is usually extended out to 40 years, great, hopefully we're all dead by then, or up due on sale. Either or, whichever comes first. So either you live in the house for the next 40 years and then you owe $100,000, or when you go to sell it in 3, 4, 5 years for whatever reason, you have to bring that additional $100,000 to the table.
And that's the caveat, that's the kicker. It doesn't work for everybody, but for those that it does, it's great. We've had some circumstances and cases that we've helped people through this process, and it's been the perfect thing for them in their life at this moment of time.
The trick is to understand it. You know, there may be a reason that it makes sense for you and your family to extend out this problem for another few years. There are plenty of opportunities where that is the best thing, where you're buying time until another solution presents itself. Got it. You just need to make sure that you understand what you're buying into when you do.
And be smart. If they reduced your payment by several $100s, put that several $100s back in towards that principal balance if you can afford to do so, so that in the event that you did have a life-changing event where you did have to move, you're in a better situation to do so at that point. Now, here's the thing to remember. Of this 8% that actually qualify, as they get this note and they read through it and they realize some of the terms of this note, data shows that only 4% of total applicants actually accept their loan modification.
So that means half of you who are offered that loan modification are going to read it and say, "What? This is nuts," and turn it down.
Yep.
And of those people,
About half of them are already late within 12 months, the first 12 months.
and the reason that we're seeing for that is that often, I don't need to tell you that the entire time you're doing this loan modification process, you're robbing Paul to pay Peter. What we're seeing most commonly is that people start turning to their credit cards and you start seeing those balance creeping up, and by the time you are offered a loan modification that may trim $300 off of your payment, that $300 trimming is just going into servicing the debt that you acquired trying to keep your head above water while you were doing the mortgage. Now, we don't want to be downer Debbies with this, but what we do want to do is revisit what we said in our last video. This is something where you need several eyeballs looking at that letter when you get
Exactly.
it. You want to call the realtor, you want to call the lender, you want to call your attorney, you want to call your CPA, and make sure you understand all the consequences of this offer they're making before you engage in it.
Exactly. And that's the key. And like we said before, we, Keller Williams, myself, Jake Ginger, Roxanne Webster, and my home team we're not associated with the government, we're not related to the government entities at all. All we can do is do our best to give you some advice.